An amateur video captures these young adolescents throwing objects at a house. It takes place in the British coastal area of Kent. The owner who filmed the attack is a Polish retail manager who came to the UK in 2005. He says it's not the first time he's been targeted.
It's getting worse and worse. This year I've been attacked at the beginning of the year in the shop because I'm Polish. People are shouting on the street after me, fucking Polish. And also some customers, after realizing that I came from Poland, they ask when I go home.
Tommy Tomescu is a Romanian dentist who's been working in London since 2010. He says the current political climate has paved the way for scaremongering tactics, blaming Eastern Europeans for taking jobs or sponging off of Britain's welfare system. Earlier this year, Tomescu set up the Alliance Against Romanian and Bulgarian Discrimination.
In 1 year, from 2013 to 2014, the numbers of racial attacks against East Europeans have doubled, okay? In some areas even quadrupled. And this has happened because of the political agenda and because of what has been in the media. Because the number of Romanians or Bulgarian or Polish didn't double. Why did this number in racial hate attack increase?
Part of the answer lies in the sheer number of Eastern European migrants who have come to the UK since joining the EU. For Poland alone, it's estimated there are more than 500,000 Poles working and living in Britain. This is Southampton, where 1 out of 10 of the city's 200,000 residents is Polish. Many agree the EU migrants have revived and transformed Southampton with new shops, companies and jobs. But others claim they put a strain on public benefits such as housing and health services. Tomasz Diel was 13 years old when he came to Southampton with his family 10 years ago. Today, Tomasz has his own marketing company and was voted Southampton's Young Entrepreneur of the Year. He also hosts a weekly radio show in Polish. For Tomasz, the claim that EU migrants sponge off of Britain's benefits is false.
If you look at the statistics, it's actually that these Eastern European members have actually put more money into the government than what they've actually taken out. And it's the migrants from non-EU that are actually claiming more benefits. And for a lot of companies, you know, Eastern Europeans people are the savers because they're the ones who will actually be doing the work. If you look at hotels, restaurants, cleaners and everything else, most of them will be of a Eastern European nationality.
But despite this contribution, EU migration has become a growing concern for a majority of British people. While some see the advantages, others worry Britain's benefit system is at a breaking point.
Seems too late, really. Jobs been taken, housing's been taken, haven't they? You can't get rid of them now, can you?
I wouldn't say it was a bad change at the moment. There's most of what I see, people that come here, they come here to work.
I don't know a lot about the positives of being in the European Union. All I've really heard about is, the negatives and, again, the negatives of immigration.
I don't think you can quantify too much or too little. I think it's a factor and, it's just like it or lump it, isn't it?
I specialise in housing benefit for all my tenants and it's an amazing situation where people just turn up and sign on. It's wrong.
Something wrong, but especially a sense that immigration can no longer be controlled. It's a message some British tabloids have hammered in over the past 2 years, that the only way to stop Romanians, Bulgarians or other EU migrants from taking jobs or using Britain's overburdened welfare system is to leave the EU. A message that is political music to the United Kingdom Independence Party, better known as UKIP. They've campaigned on one issue only: leave the EU to regain control. And this is UKIP's Man of the Hour. Mark Reckless became UKIP's second member of the British Parliament after defecting from David Cameron's Conservative Party and being re-elected as a UKIP candidate. But Reckless has been deeply criticised for saying an EU exit could lead to the deportation of some EU migrants. He claims his words were taken out of context.
I think many of the people here are making a huge contribution to the country, and I certainly wouldn't want to single out any nationality. It's a question, I think, really of overall numbers, and at the last election the Conservatives said that they were going to cut immigration from hundreds of thousands a year to tens of thousands a year on a net basis. It's now gone back up to the levels that we saw under Labour. But we want to be fair and treat people with a Commonwealth heritage, people from outside the EU, on the same basis as people from inside the EU.
Here, Reckless is the guest of honour at a Bruges Group conference, a group calling for a reformed EU and raising doubts that Cameron will be able to renegotiate its membership with Brussels. Conservative MP Mark Pritchard defends Cameron, but he also concedes that if there is no compromise, a referendum will decide Britain's place in Europe once and for all.
Clearly, EU migration brings economic and social benefits to Britain, but the majority of people see huge pressures on public services, on housing, on GP surgeries and on hospitals and schools, and they're saying enough is enough. So we need to reconfigure, realign our relationship with Europe. If Brussels rebuffs the Prime Minister, then I think the British people will probably vote to leave in December 2017.
There's little doubt there's growing pressure on David Cameron. A recent opinion poll said that over 70% of British would like to see a reduction in immigration numbers. But even a larger majority of 80% believe he won't be able to reduce the number of EU immigrants coming to Britain. Freedom of movement of peoples and goods is an EU fundamental right and non-negotiable. For Raphael Baer, increasing the waiting time to access British benefits is one of the caveats Cameron could offer to both voters at home and his European counterparts.
There is this very, very tiny area that he's concentrating on now, which is benefits claimed by European migrants. And it does appear that you can adjust some of the regulations around that without changing European treaties. And that's exactly why David Cameron is really zeroing in on that, because he thinks that's something he can achieve, where he can, on one face, turn to the British public and say, you're angry about essentially foreigners coming and taking benefits, I'm going to crack down on that, and then he can turn to his European partners and say, this is something we can actually do without dismantling European treaties, which none of them want to do. And that's why that has become really where it's now focused.
But meanwhile, back at Southampton's Unity radio station, using immigration as a political tool is nothing new, and Britain's benefit system is just its latest target.
Immigration has been an issue from day one, and it really is a political ping-pong that has been played leading up to the general elections. I think if you listen to the people on the street and say, well, we have wonderful friends from Lithuania, Poland, India, Pakistan, Africa, and it's great. But equally at the same time, there are always going to be some people, wherever they come from, who will abuse the system, who will take advantage of the system, but that's the way humans work.